Born on December 5, 1782, in the small village of Kinderhook, New York, he was the son of Dutch immigrants who had settled in the region several years earlier. His parents, who had migrated from the Netherlands seeking new opportunities in America, instilled in him a strong work ethic and a deep respect for education and community values. Growing up in a modest household, he was exposed to the realities of frontier life and learned the importance of perseverance and resilience from an early age. His childhood was marked by curiosity and a desire to learn, often spending hours reading books and exploring the natural surroundings of Kinderhook. At the age of 14, recognizing his intellectual potential and driven by a desire to pursue a career in law, he began working as a clerk for a local lawyer named Abraham Van Buren. In this role, he assisted with legal documents, observed court proceedings, and learned firsthand about the practice of law. This apprenticeship provided him with invaluable practical experience and ignited his passion for justice and advocacy. Despite his young age, he demonstrated remarkable diligence and an aptitude for understanding complex legal concepts. During his time as a clerk, he also took it upon himself to study Latin and classical literature, which broadened his intellectual horizons and improved his analytical skills. His dedication to self-education was evident. He often borrowed books from local libraries or neighbors and spent long hours reading by candlelight after completing his daily tasks. Recognizing that formal education opportunities were limited in his small town, he sought to expand his knowledge independently. By the time he was in his late teens, he decided to pursue formal legal studies more systematically. He apprenticed under prominent lawyers in nearby towns to deepen his understanding of law practice. His reputation as a diligent and intelligent young man grew among local legal circles. After several years of apprenticeship and self-study, he gained enough knowledge and experience to sit for the bar examination, a rigorous process that tested one's understanding of law and readiness to practice independently. In 1802, at just 20 years old, he successfully passed the bar exam and was admitted to practice law. Between the years 1808 and 1813, he served as a surrogate for Columbia County in New York, a judicial position that involved overseeing probate cases, including the administration of wills, estates, and guardianships within the county. As a surrogate, he was responsible for ensuring that the legal processes related to inheritance and estate settlement were carried out correctly and fairly. This role required a thorough understanding of probate law, attention to detail, and impartiality in resolving disputes among heirs or claimants. Serving in this capacity allowed him to gain significant legal experience and develop a reputation for integrity and fairness in his community. It also provided him with valuable insights into the workings of the judicial system at the local level, which would later inform his broader political and legal career. During this period, he demonstrated his ability to handle complex legal matters with professionalism and earned respect from colleagues and constituents alike. Following his tenure as a surrogate from 1813 to 1820, he was elected to serve as a senator in the New York State Senate. His election marked a transition from judicial responsibilities to legislative leadership. As a state senator, he represented Columbia County and participated actively in shaping state policies during a critical period of growth and change for New York. His legislative work involved debating and passing laws on various issues such as infrastructure development, including roads, canals, and transportation, economic policies aimed at fostering commerce and industry, education reforms, and legal improvements. He was known for his dedication to public service, often working tirelessly to advocate for the needs of his constituents while balancing statewide interests. During his time in the Senate, he gained recognition for his ability to collaborate with colleagues across political lines and for his commitment to advancing legislation that promoted economic development and social stability. His experience as a surrogate provided him with an understanding of legal procedures that proved beneficial when drafting or reviewing legislation related to courts and justice systems. His legislative efforts contributed to laying foundations for future growth in New York State's infrastructure and governance. Throughout these years, serving first as a surrogate and then as a senator, he established himself as an influential figure in state politics, gaining valuable leadership skills and deepening his understanding of public policy. Between the years 1816 and 1819, he held the distinguished position of Attorney General of New York State, serving as the chief legal officer responsible for overseeing the legal affairs of the entire state. In this capacity, he was tasked with providing expert legal advice to the governor, legislature, and various state agencies, ensuring that their actions and policies complied with constitutional and statutory law. His role involved reviewing and analyzing complex legal issues that arose in the administration of state government, offering official opinions on legislative proposals, and representing the state in important court cases. As the top legal authority, he also supervised a team of attorneys and assistants working within the Attorney General's office, coordinating efforts to enforce laws effectively across New York. During his tenure, he was deeply involved in shaping legal policies during a period marked by significant growth and development in New York. This era followed the War of 1812, a time when the state was expanding its infrastructure, economy, and institutions. He also worked to improve judicial procedures and advocated for reforms that would make the legal system more efficient and accessible to citizens. His work often involved defending the interests of the state in high-profile cases or providing counsel on constitutional questions that had broad implications for governance. He was known for his meticulous attention to detail, his ability to analyze complex legal problems swiftly, and his dedication to upholding the rule of law. His leadership helped establish clearer legal standards within New York State and contributed to strengthening its judicial system during a formative period. In addition to his courtroom responsibilities, he advised policymakers on matters related to law enforcement practices and judicial administration. His insights helped shape legislation aimed at improving public safety and ensuring fair treatment under the law. Serving as Attorney General from 1816 to 1819 not only elevated his reputation as a skilled lawyer, but also provided him with invaluable experience in public administration at a high level. Between 1821 and 1828, he served as a United States Senator representing the state of New York, a role that placed him at the center of national political affairs during a transformative period in American history. As a senator, he was deeply involved in shaping key pieces of legislation and influencing the direction of the young nation's policies. His tenure coincided with the rise of Jacksonian democracy, a movement advocating for greater political participation by ordinary citizens and emphasizing states' rights, limited federal government, and expanded suffrage. During this time, he was also recognized as a leading figure within the influential political organization known as the Albany Regency, which was essentially a political machine that controlled much of New York State's politics. The Albany Regency was formed in the early 19th century as a powerful faction within the Democratic-Republican Party, later evolving into the Democratic Party. It was led by prominent politicians who coordinated efforts to support Andrew Jackson's presidential ambitions and policies. As a leader within this group, he played a crucial role in organizing political support, managing party discipline, and strategizing electoral campaigns both at the state and national levels. His leadership helped to consolidate power within New York politics, ensuring that the Regency maintained control over appointments, legislative agendas, and electoral processes. These treaties and agreements not only boosted American commerce, but also demonstrated his skill in diplomacy and negotiation on the international stage. During this period, he also worked on issues related to navigation rights, territorial boundaries, and diplomatic recognition of American interests abroad. His diplomatic initiatives laid groundwork for future U.S. foreign policy strategies and helped establish a more assertive American presence internationally. In 1831, he was appointed as the U.S. ambassador to Great Britain, a prestigious diplomatic post that reflected his reputation as a skilled diplomat. However, his appointment was not confirmed by the Senate, which was a setback in his career. The reasons for this rejection are complex, but involved political disagreements and opposition within Congress. From 1833 to 1837, he served as the Vice President of the United States under President Andrew Jackson, during which he played a vital role in supporting and advancing Jackson's policies and political agenda. His tenure as Vice President coincided with a period of significant change and expansion in the United States, marked by issues such as Indian removal, economic reform, and territorial growth. As Vice President, he presided over the Senate, often casting tie-breaking votes and helping to shape legislative debates on key issues of the day. During this time, he was a loyal supporter of Jackson's vision for a stronger executive branch and his efforts to promote democratic principles that favored the common man. He also participated in various diplomatic and ceremonial functions, representing the administration at official events across the country. Although his role was largely supportive and he did not have significant independent power beyond presiding over the Senate, his position placed him at the center of national politics during a transformative era. His vice presidency was also marked by political tensions within Jackson's Democratic Party and disagreements with other political factions. Despite these challenges, he maintained a close working relationship with Jackson and was considered an important figure within the administration. Martin Van Buren served as the 8th President of the United States from March 4, 1837 to March 4, 1841. He took office during a period of severe economic instability caused by the Panic of 1837, one of the worst financial crises in American history. The panic was triggered by a combination of factors, including rampant land speculation fueled by easy credit and the widespread issuance of banknotes by state-chartered banks, which created an unsustainable bubble. When confidence in the banking system faltered, banks began to fail rapidly, leading to a credit crunch that severely impacted businesses and individuals across the country. The crisis was further exacerbated by international economic disturbances, such as a decline in cotton prices, one of America's main exports, and restrictive monetary policies in Britain that limited American exports and worsened the economic downturn. Additionally, Van Buren's administration had previously implemented the Specie Circular in 1836, which required payment for government land to be made in gold and silver rather than paper money. This policy was intended to curb land speculation, but ended up tightening credit and causing a contraction in the economy, deepening the Depression. As a result of these combined factors, millions of Americans faced unemployment, bank failures became widespread, and many businesses went bankrupt. The Depression led to widespread poverty and hardship across the nation. Van Buren's response to the crisis was characterized by his belief in limited government intervention. He opposed federal efforts to directly aid those suffering from economic hardship. Instead, he relied on voluntary efforts by banks and state governments to stabilize the economy, which many critics argued was insufficient, given the severity of the Depression. Martin Van Buren was notably cautious regarding the issue of Texas and its potential annexation by the United States. At that time, Texas was fighting for independence from Mexico, and its future status was a highly contentious topic in American politics. Van Buren believed that annexing Texas could provoke a war with Mexico, which was opposed to the idea of losing control over its northern territories. He was concerned that such a war would be costly, both in terms of human lives and national resources, and could destabilize the region further. Van Buren's opposition to the annexation was also driven by political considerations related to slavery. Texas was a large territory with the potential to become a slave state, and its admission into the Union would likely tip the balance of power in favor of slaveholding states. This prospect alarmed many Northern politicians and abolitionists who wanted to limit the expansion of slavery. Van Buren, who aimed to maintain national unity and avoid sectional conflicts, preferred to delay or avoid taking a definitive stance on Texas's independence or annexation. He apparently lone behind or essential, national conflicts and Texas's bin and axes. He believed that pursuing peaceful relations with Mexico was more important than risking war over Texas. Van Buren's administration attempted to maintain diplomatic ties with Mexico and sought to prevent any move toward annexation that might provoke conflict. His cautious approach reflected his broader policy of avoiding unnecessary foreign entanglements and sectional tensions during his presidency. Ultimately, Van Buren's opposition to immediate annexation delayed Texas's entry into the Union until after his presidency, when it was eventually admitted in 1845 under President James K. Polk. His stance on Texas exemplified his commitment to diplomacy and stability over expansion, driven by sectional interests or territorial ambitions. Martin Van Buren, during his presidency from 1837 to 1841, faced a severe economic crisis following the Panic of 1837, which exposed weaknesses in the American financial system. In response to the instability and to prevent future financial crises, Van Buren championed a major reform known as the creation of the independent Treasury system. Prior to this reform, the federal government's funds were stored in various banks, including state-chartered banks and some private banks, which often engaged in risky lending and speculative practices. This reliance on private banks contributed to financial instability and made government funds vulnerable to bank failures. Van Buren believed that to ensure a more stable and secure financial system, the federal government needed to manage its funds independently of private banking institutions. He proposed establishing a system where government revenues would be deposited in a series of government-controlled vaults, an independent treasury that would be separate from private banks. This system would allow the government to conduct its financial transactions directly with these treasury vaults, thereby reducing dependence on private banks and limiting their influence over federal finances. The Independent Treasury Act was passed by Congress in 1840 during Van Buren's presidency, despite opposition from those who favored a national bank or more centralized banking control. The new system was designed to hold government funds securely in vaults located in various cities across the country, with transactions conducted through specie, gold and silver, rather than paper currency. This approach aimed to prevent bank failures from affecting government funds and to promote fiscal stability. Although initially controversial and opposed by many politicians who believed it limited credit availability or was too restrictive, the independent treasury system proved effective in providing a more transparent and stable way for the federal government to manage its finances. It marked a significant shift away from reliance on private banking institutions for federal funds and laid the groundwork for modern federal financial management practices. The system remained in place until it was replaced by other banking arrangements later in American history, but represented an important step toward establishing an independent and secure national financial infrastructure under Van Buren's leadership. Martin Van Buren adopted a policy of strict neutrality regarding the conflicts involving Britain and its colonies in North America. One of the key issues he faced was the Canadian rebellions of 1837 to 1838, also known as the Upper and Lower Canada Rebellions. These uprisings were led by Canadian colonists who sought responsible government and greater autonomy from British rule. Van Buren believed that intervening in these internal conflicts could risk provoking a war with Britain, which the United States wanted to avoid at that time. He was cautious about becoming entangled in European colonial disputes and prioritized maintaining peaceful relations with Britain, a major trading partner and neighbor. During this period, tensions also arose along the U.S.-Canada border, particularly over territorial disputes in the region known as the Aroostook War. This conflict was primarily a boundary dispute between Maine and New Brunswick, involving American lumbermen and British authorities. Although it escalated into a military standoff at times, Van Buren preferred to resolve the issue through diplomacy rather than military force. He supported negotiations and arbitration to settle the dispute peacefully, emphasizing American interests while avoiding unnecessary conflict. Van Buren's approach reflected his broader foreign policy principles of neutrality and non-intervention. He believed that engaging in military conflicts over colonial uprisings or border disputes would be costly and could jeopardize American security and economic stability. His administration worked to de-escalate tensions by encouraging diplomatic solutions, such as the Webster-Ashburton Treaty of 1842, which was negotiated after his presidency but built upon his policies of peaceful resolution. Overall, Van Buren's support for neutrality during these conflicts helped maintain peace between the United States and Britain during a turbulent period. His emphasis on diplomacy over military action set an important precedent for American foreign policy, demonstrating a commitment to peaceful dispute resolution and avoiding unnecessary wars that could distract from domestic issues or threaten national stability. In 1840, Martin Van Buren sought to secure a second term as President of the United States amid a challenging political and economic climate. His presidency was marred by the aftermath of the Panic of 1837, a severe financial crisis that led to widespread bank failures, unemployment, and economic hardship across the country. Van Buren's response to the crisis, which included policies like the independent treasury system to stabilize government finances, was viewed by many as insufficient or ineffective. As a result, public dissatisfaction with his leadership grew. The Whigs nominated William Henry Harrison, a popular military hero known for his victory at the Battle of Tippecanoe, as their presidential candidate. The 1840 election campaign was highly spirited and characterized by lively slogans and rallies. Harrison's supporters portrayed him as a man of the people, contrasting him with Van Buren's perceived elitism. The campaign also featured extensive use of propaganda and mass mobilization efforts. Ultimately, Harrison won a decisive victory over Van Buren, who was seen as unable to address the economic crisis effectively. This defeat marked the end of Van Buren's presidency and his immediate political influence. After losing the 1840 election, Van Buren withdrew from national politics for several years but remained active in public debates and political circles. He continued to advocate for his principles and remained an influential figure among Democrats and anti-slavery advocates. In 1848, Van Buren made a notable political comeback by running for president again, this time as the candidate for the newly formed Free Soil Party. The Free Soil Party was established by anti-slavery activists who believed that slavery should not be allowed to expand into new territories acquired from Mexico following the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848. Van Buren's candidacy reflected his strong opposition to slavery's expansion and his commitment to free labor principles, arguing that slavery would undermine economic opportunity for white workers and threaten democratic values. During his campaign in 1848, Van Buren emphasized issues such as opposition to the spread of slavery into Western territories, support for free homesteads, and opposition to policies that favored slaveholders. His run attracted support from abolitionists and free soil advocates, but also alienated Southern Democrats who supported slavery or were indifferent to abolitionist causes. Despite his prominence and moral stance against slavery's expansion, Van Buren was not successful in winning the presidency. He finished third in the election behind Zachary Taylor, Whig, and Lewis Cass, Democrat. Nevertheless, his candidacy played an important role in elevating anti-slavery sentiments in national politics and contributed to increasing sectional tensions between North and South. Plus, Martin Van Buren passed away on July 24, 1862, in his hometown of Kinderhook, New York. Van Buren had spent his later years in this small village where he had established a farm and remained active in public life even after his presidency. His death marked the end of a significant political career that spanned several decades, during which he played a crucial role in shaping American politics. Van Buren was known for his skillful leadership within the Democratic Party, his efforts to develop the modern political system with organized party structures, and his influence on policies related to banking, foreign affairs, and territorial expansion. By 1862, the nation was deeply embroiled in the Civil War, and Van Buren's death came at a time of great national turmoil. Despite his advanced age, he was 79 years old, his passing was widely mourned by supporters who remembered him as a statesman who helped guide the young nation through its formative years. His death in Kinderhook marked the end of an era for American politics. He was remembered as one of the key architects of the Democratic Party and a leader who had dedicated his life to public service.